the record button. We will have this particular session recorded and kept it on our YouTube channel so that anyone who misses any part of this can basically go on. And I hope everyone can hear me. If you can't hear me, just drop a message. I know you won't hear the word that you can't hear me, but you can see my hands moving and you can't hear anything. Probably drop a message and I'll help you out. All your mics have been muted, but you can unmute and speak whatever you want. Just correspond with me, talk with me. I hope everyone here are teachers or those who are aspiring to be teachers. And this is going to be actually a very interesting session, and I believe you will learn something here. Maximum, I'm going to be with you guys for about 45 minutes. And I'm going to have another lecturer of yours who is a medical doctor on board, who will speak about a different aspect on the sciences of early childhood education and what teachers should know from a doctor's point of view. That is basically it is. Okay. As I accepted, one person says there is no sound. I would want Upeksha or Shanika to contact this person who is in the screen as Oppo. The person has to click left hand side which says join audio twice. I'll see if I can show you what can be done in the screen. It is something like okay, let me see. Okay, I suppose I can't show my Zoom screen. In Zoom, in whatever the areas which you are basically working on Zoom, you will see the caller point, which is actually downside on your left hand corner. So once you click that, the sounds actually start, right? You have to click that twice. Okay, let's go ahead with this. First of all, I'm going to introduce the team. Before I introduce the team, can you hear your voice? Okay, can't hear your voice. Okay, Upeksha and Shanika, can you just look into this particular student's need? Okay, let me just do a small thing here. Click the part left hand side below your screen. Okay, let's go ahead. So before I basically introduce you the team, I would take you through who is the AIC education body. AIC education body, who is actually one of the leading institutions in postgraduate undergraduate studies, is basically a sister company of this particular organization, which is coming in your screen. We are predominantly a medical school. I repeat, we are predominantly a medical school called the International Medical Campus. We have over 22 years of experience in working in the medical education field. You can browse through all the things which basically give here on medical education and the study destinations and all that. And even we do part of the medical courses here in Sri Lanka as well, right? There you go. So with regarding to basically this, if you are looking at medical schools or you want to recommend our medical schools to anyone, you can basically go under this university caption and you can actually search any university you want. Now, while the International Medical Campus has its medical arm, we have a non-medical arm where we transferred all our non-medical courses, and usually psychology, bioscience, early childhood learning are all categorized as non-medical courses. So now I'm going to leave this and come to the AIC website. So the AIC website has options in studying abroad. Please go through this. We have the schools of specializations in the undergraduate area. We have the universities we work with. If you want to enroll now and make an online inquiry, register and pay do your payments online, you can do that. How does life look here? What are the press articles about us? What are the events do we have? Upcoming events, past events, etc. And how do you basically contact us? All the information with regarding to that is basically here. Apart from this, we also have a Moodle access, which is it's like a mini virtual classroom, which is parallel to like Google Classroom, where students can like upload their assignments, check their lectures, download their slides, download audio information of their classes and things like that. So this is basically the AIC universities, AIC campuses website. So when you go to schools, you can look into the School of Psychology and Education. You have the bachelor's in psychology, you have the early childhood educational programs, and you have the top-up degrees here. So where I come into play and I introduce myself is that my name is Inthikab. I'm part of the faculty here, which actually teaches you all this, and that's where we are going to kickstart. Basically, to actually have a pen and a paper, and you would like to write certain things, you would like to write certain notes, I would actually want you to do all this stuff, because probably you might be actually going through some important things, which you would not want to miss. Okay, but don't worry, the recorded lecture will be actually sent to you, and I will be having this uploaded so that you can actually check this. Now, coming to the early childhood education, I want all of you guys to actually correspond with me, link with me, talk with me. It's like I'm going to give you a taste of how basically should we run education in the 21st century. How should we run education in the 21st century? This is basically not a class, not a class with regarding to telling you like how to teach. As teachers, I'm aware that you know how to teach, right? So the content which is here is basically targeting at teachers or people who want to be teachers or people who want an education in teaching, right? Now, apart from that, I don't think anyone else is here. If not, guys, probably you won't get an understanding of what on earth is going on here. So to do this, I'm going to share some of my personal experience. I'm going to share about how I basically do it. And I'm going to tell you about what is early childhood education not. I mean, what is it not? So when I say what is it not, you will understand what it is. So that is basically how we are going to go on with. Now, first of all, I would like to have an ice break, and I would like to get your opinion on this. If I ask you a question that if a plane crashes on the border between US and Canada, where would the survivors be buried? What would you answer, dear teachers? Ruksha, Ruvi, uh, Himaya, Tusanti, Umuadiba, Bushra, Nisla. I would request everyone to edit your name in the screen so that I can address you by the name. Currently, your names are like, iPhone, me, your name is like Samsung, your name is Oppo. These are the names you already have in your screen. If a plane crashes on the border between the US and Canada, where would the survivors be buried? Okay, so the answer is you can use the mic. You can also use the chat box to your consideration. This is a very famous icebreaker. This is a very famous icebreaker, and the answer is that survivors won't be buried. You're correctly true, right? Second question is, can everyone guys be on board here with me, concentrate on this, because we just have 45 minutes, and you're going to learn quite a lot actually in this particular time period. So I want you to focus on this. Imagine that you're driving a bus and you drive to bus stop T, where 4 people get on. You then arrive at bus stop O, where 2 people get off. Finally, you reach to bus stop M, where everyone gets off. This is the question. This is the case. The question is, what's the name of the bus driver? What's the name of the bus driver? What's the name of the bus driver? Aisha, Zakiullah, Mariam, Mahdia, Nesla, Bushra, Ruksha, Ruvi. Question Yeah, question, I won't show it again. Question again, you guys have missed it. No way. That's the whole trick. This is a question on paying attention. Guys, if you are teachers, I need you all to cooperate with me. If not, guys, this won't work. Tushani, can you elaborate? Himaya, good try. Guys, this shows that you need to pay attention. If you think that this class is going to be actually not something which is related to you, I think you're probably wasting your next 2 hours here. But if you think that you need to learn something, guys, you should pay utmost attention. That's super important, right? The answer is the driver, because as I said to you, imagine you are driving a bus. Imagine that you are driving a bus. So the person is that you are the driver. So this is a basic approach for my icebreaker at the moment. Can you guys focus on the screen? Can we have Upeksha and Shanika come on board? Upeksha, can you on your camera? And Shanika as well. Can you like, first of all, probably, okay, this is Upeksha, who I am going to set at the moment on the spotlight. So anything with regarding to your coursework and things like that, we basically have a dedicated team who will be assisting with you. So we have Upeksha, who is there to assist you guys, and you can talk to her whenever you needed to ask any information on this. We also have Miss Shanika, who is over here. She is also there to help you guys with all types of information in coordinating the lectures, in making sure that everything is smooth, your documentation is smooth, all the relevant information. And we have Mr. Horace Fredericks, who is also now going to be replaced. This is in your screen, you see Mr. Horace Fredericks. He's basically also the person who is basically the person who runs the entire show for the psychology program and the early childhood educational program. So you like our programs and you want me or us to do a session like this for your teachers, for your school, for your institution, for your university. You want us to do a motivational session for your teachers. You want us to do a teacher training session for your teachers. You want us to give them some novel taste and experience for your teachers. The person to contact this is the person in your screen. You can be in touch with him. Let us know if you feel that this is an important thing. Our sessions are all free for all schools, and we will come to your school and we will do it. That is only if the physical thing is happening. If not, like how we are handling it today, it can be done on Zoom. And I'm proud to say that we have done these sessions for different schools, including schools like Lyceum and Alithia International School. And it was a tremendous success to actually give certain new techniques for what people can actually learn as teachers, right? Okay, so going on with this, I would actually, go on in the fact that let's see as to how we take this from here onwards. Please ask me your questions, post me any of your questions which you see in the screen. Now, first of all, we're going to talk about not rocket science, but a very basic theory called the TPAC framework. I repeat, the TPAC framework. The TPAC framework is at least about 20 years old, which actually connects three particular things. It connects the aspect of where today's teachers have to have, let's go with number one. Let's go in the order of what it is easy for me to explain. The number one of content knowledge. Teachers are quite challenged with the content knowledge today than 20 years ago. When this model was introduced about 15 or 20 years ago, it was very basic and primitive, and it was actually not used. It was written and kept in books. Content knowledge is what we refer to as subject knowledge in summary. You need to have stuff to talk in simple words. You have to have stuff to talk. You need to know what you're going to talk. You need to know what you're going to teach. You need to have enough facts collected. Now, the facts collected was actually discussed not in the age of information technology 20 years ago. When your parents did exams, your uncle and aunties did exams, when Google was not there, when YouTube was not there, when Wikipedia was not there, and when Google Scholar was not there, and so on. Content is actually scarce those days. That's why if you go and see these old speakers those days, you will find that there is only few, and those who are few who are well read are good quality speakers, and the other speakers probably you won't know. So unless a person is an author and a researcher, he is not famous at all, because content knowledge was quite hard. Then we go to something called pedagogical knowledge. In looking at the knowledge you know, how are you going to actually present it? The knowledge you know, how are you going to present it? At the end of the session, I'll show you how I run my system to make teaching interesting for students. And at the end, I will tell you what is not early childhood education through us. Lastly is technological knowledge. I'm going to teach the technological aspect, and we have two subjects which I specialize on teaching: the element of technology for teachers. Most of our teachers are basically quite young, and they actually have easy access to technology. If there is a teacher who is quite senior and who is quite far away from technology, we are going to go through problems. Technological knowledge is where, was developed in this model. In this model, the number 1 and the number 2 was developed 20 years ago. The third one was developed about 8 or 10 years ago. It's very recent. It's a recent addition. So in the TPAC framework, to use of technology, projectors, mobile phones, touch boards, touchscreen devices, all these have been introduced newly, and you have to know it. Now, which is where we have actually quite a dialogue which is going on, and I encourage dialogue with students. What I mean by I encourage dialogue is, should we give technology for students or not? That's a serious discussion I have with my class, and we are pro towards it, we are against it. But there is a way how we should analyze it. To do that, you have to go through the entire class program actually to learn it. So understand that my entire slides are going to be based on the TPAC framework, and I want you to use it. So first of all, what is with regarding to the content knowledge is what teachers know. Teachers should know more things now than what teachers should have been knowing about 15 years ago. Teachers should know more things now. At the age of information technology, your students can one day surpass you. And that's happening today in the cases of many universities, where people are not upgrading their slides, upgrading their notes, upgrading their thinking. Example, if you have heard that the world's fastest runner was a runner in the 1990s, if you have not upgraded that, there had been at least 7 or 8 runners who broke that record. And if your brain's processor is not getting upgraded like that, what is in your mind is still that in 1990 there has been a world's fastest runner, whereas your student knows more about the race than you know. That is exactly what we call on content knowledge. Number 2 is the pedagogical knowledge on how to teach. We find that people are different, and I'll show you that how people are different. Because people are different, we are trying to actually give different teaching methodologies to reach different students. Why is that? Let's find out in the next half an hour. And how do I use technology in my class? And how complicated sometimes this can get. Now, this is the collective model of what we have been discussing, and the entire lecture is about this particular discussion. Okay, so the concept of understanding, content knowledge is facts, concept, theories, and pedagogical knowledge is how you give the experience for students, how you group them, how you tell certain things, or how you don't tell certain things, and also technological knowledge. Technological knowledge is going to be quite a challenge for a teacher who thinks, I'm not going to use tabs. Okay, I'm against tabs. I'm against computers. I'm against touchscreen. I have news for you in the next couple of slides, right? This is a daily discussion I have in my lectures. And I am not telling anyone to just follow what I'm doing, but I'm telling them to profound their research, broaden their research, and go to many other things. Let's talk about a scenario for all my teachers who is here. This is more than early childhood education. You guys would have studied in your O levels at least the subject of commerce. How were you taught about checks, credit cards, and debit cards? Would anyone like to share their experience with me? We have about 20 students. You can open up your mic and you can talk. How were you taught? How do you wish you were taught? How were you taught? How do you wish you were taught? Ruby, Samsung, if you can change your name. Subani, Hilma, Tania, Tushani, Ummu Abdullah. Sorry, it's Ummu Adiba. I'm sorry. Anyone else? Mahadia, Bushra.
Excuse me.
Yes, go ahead.
When we introduce about these categories, I think if we can get the children to the bank, or if we can act like that the way we use in the earlier things, so it will be better.
I am totally with you. You're Ruby, right?
Yes.
Okay. Tell me, Ruby. I think everyone heard Ruby's answer. Ruby said, if you want to teach anyone about checks and credit cards and debit cards, why don't a teacher or a parent or an adult takes these children to the bank? Now these are not kids, huh? These are not babies. Megulam O level lamai. So you take these kids who are 16 years to the bank and show them how it happens. I am 100% with Ruby. Tell me, Ruby, do you know anyone who teaches like that? Do you know any school who teaches like that? Do you know any teacher who does like that? Or were you taught like that? Anyone? If anyone was taught like that, please answer. That's the correct way of doing it. But how do we do it is not like that. Please discuss. Please use the mic or chat with me. I think you get the point, and I am agreeing with Ruby. That's my answer as well. We are not basically doing it in the right way. That when my teachers were talking about checks, my teacher was showing some photos of checks, and I got a small thing to write a check, and that's it. I exactly didn't know how checks work. And there was a question for commerce. What's the difference between credit card and debit card? And we had not seen a credit card. We had not touched a credit card. We never knew how it works. And every definition every teacher gave in that era was all wrong, or was all not accurate. Because the teachers who are talking about it have not used a credit card, neither used a debit card. At least the explanation on checks were correct, but the pedagogical science behind the checks was wrong. I think you are agreeing, or you are understanding what I'm saying here. Do you know how long it took for teachers to understand that credit cards are not connected to your bank account and debit cards are connected to your bank account? That's the only difference. That's all. If someone asks a question, that's the only difference you have to write. Without this, the students' answer was complicated and students were memorizing. And what we created is, we created a culture to memorize. And you and I are coming from that culture of memorizing and writing something. Whereas today, most of our sessions don't have exams because we don't want people to memorize things. When you go to teach, you don't memorize. When you go to work in a bank, you don't memorize. When you go to do an operation, you don't go back to your medical books and see how is this written, and you don't do it. When my company is losing, I don't take the best economics book and read and find the solution there. It's not in the book. The book memorizing has not taught us actually to think in a different way. That is because of we giving recognition for marks on what we can memorize. So the student who has a good memory, who can memorize due to a technique, scores well. The other person who cannot memorize doesn't do well. But actually the person who doesn't memorize has a different talent, which you and I have to find out. Pedagogical sciences teaches you that you teach people according to where you find their interests are. And as I said, be online with me in the next 35 minutes. I will be done with my session. I want you to see how basically I do things, and I want you to do it in your way like that. So the best way to teach about checks, credit cards, and debit cards is, I agree, it's basically totally as what I discussed now. There are people who are actually been summoned by the attraction of visual learning. Okay, why are kids so into this? Is because this is the most powerful aspect of learning. That's why you don't just say an apple, you draw an apple and you have a picture of an apple, and the apple is, it's like really light red or luminous red, so that it strikes the eyes. This is proven to be far more the best method of learning. That's why in sciences, when we wanted to memorize the periodic table, okay, the Avartita Vagua, we told don't sit and memorize it, but draw it or write it or take a picture and put it in your room and look at it each day 10 times a day, and you actually achieve that. But that does not work for the person who likes to actually do it with words. That's where we use a different learning, giving people to actually tell it like a poem. Hydrogen, helium, like that, you create a poem with acronyms and you make that person do it. The person who memorize it as a poem, visual learning is weak. The person who is strong in his visual learning, his audible or his way of listening and speech learning is weak. That is where teachers today are trying to master this. How do I manage 30 students in a class who have two different things? Matters get worse when 30 students are 30 different people. 30 students are 30 different people. So this is the aspect of visual learning of what happens. Now let's look into some of the other attributes with regarding to this. Visual learners understand to retain information better where there are ideas, words, concepts associated with images. Approximately 65% of the population learns visually and are lucky that it is predominantly the teaching style in the classrooms. So this is actually far more the best. Who are these people? They love pictures, diagrams, they doodle and you take notes. They prefer to see words written down, create strong visual images, attracted to spoken languages, like to read, have a good sense of direction, excel at reading maps or charts. It goes on. This person is good at spelling, remembers faces better than names. Have you had that? That some people, they remember the face but they don't remember the names, right? These are these type of people. Is really distracted by noise, looks for something to watch when you get bored, notice details like color and fashion, enjoys visual arts, have difficulty in following verbal direction. To be honest, I am going to tell you that I'm a person like this. This is me. Okay, right. There is also kinesthetic learning. Okay, if you are a kinesthetic learner, it's likely that you are like this: excellent hand eye coordination, high energy levels, quick reaction time, skills at assembling things such as models or furnitures. You might see that your child or your kid or your son or your daughter or the little people in your classroom like to meddle and make things up. If that guy is like that, he is actually not a strong visual learner at times. Okay, try to actually I mean, picture the dots of what I'm trying to say. These are kind of like future engineers. If I say you at the moment, temporarily they are kind of like future engineers, right? They will dismantle their toys and they will try to fix it up, whether they fix it correct or not, but they want to touch and break things and do it. That is exactly why they want to break things. That is exactly why they want to put things down and see how your reaction is, and they want to see what happens after you put it. That's why a kid will break 10 plates and he won't feel bad about it, because each time he breaks 10 plates or 10 glasses, he's actually learning something out of it. And if we don't allow him to do that, we are stopping his learning process, right? Because that guy is learning something in a different way. Okay, right. Good at performing experiments. Can you see this? Good at performing experiments. It is where we always say that everyone is a smart learner. Only thing is that the education system of the way we teach has put everyone inside a box. and they are being told to think like a box. Now that's the whole issue at the moment, right? Becomes fidgety if required to sit for long periods, find the reasons to move. Okay, ara api sinhalen kiyane kiripanu gaya, you know, the student can't stay in one place. Okay, they can't stay in one place, they got to go and meddle something around. That's this. Okay, is not very attentive to auditory or visual presentation, gestures when speaking, tries things and likes to manipulate objects, enjoy actions or adventure movies. There is another characteristics on read and writing characteristics. Prefers reading information, enjoys reading, comprehends and remembers what is read, may enjoy writing, may take extensive notes in classes, won't shy away from resources such as dictionaries. This person likes to write and learn, while there is someone who doesn't like to write and learn. Scientists and researchers have said that the more you write, the more you can remember, but that is not for all, that is for most of the people. So sometimes it doesn't work with some people. Auditory listeners who are actually listening audibly, right? These people may read slow, follow spoken directions, enjoy oral reports, can't keep quiet for long periods, enjoy performing on stage, remembers names, enjoy music, and may sing, hum, or whistle, works well as a study group member, easily distracted by noise and things like that. In my class, I always tell students, invest in a good, in a good headset, these large ones. At least invest in something like 4,000, 5,000 rupees or more, not this basic stuff. And don't use Bluetooth devices because it can have issues with the brain. Use one with has wires. And if you feel that you like to listen while you travel, listen while you do things, listen while you cook, you better do it. So my students at home, if they are cooking, they don't watch any of the things, they listen audibly and they try to actually do things, because that's where they find their motivation into. So this is all about how the future keeps changing. The future keeps changing is because of the different generations we are going through, and I believe that you guys know this, right? Maximum, guys, another 15-20 minutes and I'll be done, right? These people actually who have been actually changing what we call the generation Z, the generation Y kind of people, who are always like what you can see with these phones. There are people who are believing in tattoos, don't believe in religion much, mostly people who are born in this particular era, right? These are some of the traits which I teach my students, and this is where I say it starts. There used to be diaries and now it's called Facebook. There used to be a time where we used to go and write daily in our diary, and our writing skills are good, our handwritings are good, our spellings are good. And we used to hide it and keep it inside the room. No one has to check it. If someone checks it, we will scold that person. But today it's transformed into something called Facebook, and we are open about our diary, and we lost our writing skills. We have typing skills, and we want everyone to go through what we have done in our daily life. And now what happens is, other way of the diary. If someone is not liking your daily routine, pictures, stories, you might get offended. Earlier, if someone reads your personal stuff, you get offended. Now, if they don't read your personal stuff, you get offended. That is because of people going from one era to another era. This was taken in the last United States election, when Hillary Clinton went to meet a particular group of youngsters in a university at the age group of 18 to 22. Hillary Clinton was lost because of her age gap to understand a group of people who she was talking to, when they looked the opposite side and started to take a selfie. That is where I call this the selfie generation as well. Hillary Clinton believes in face to face talking, looking into the eye and talking, having a good conversation, looking into the person and actually talking. But what happens is, as you can see in this particular slide, as you can see, it's all about how Hillary Clinton has actually not understood the core area of her target audience. Okay, uh, this particular device will be very common in our classroom. It's into virtual reality. And when a time people were said not to go in front of the TV, very soon we will be actually going through, things exactly like this. Even the alphabet is changing. and we should be aware of that. A is for Apple, as in Apple iPhone. B is not for anything else, but it's BlackBerry, as in BlackBerry phones. So much so that, guys, people have changed their personalities like this. You will be meeting these characters in the classes soon. So much so that people are today like zombies. We call it the walking dead. This particular reaction is going to lead into this particular sickness called the text neck. Write it down if you want. It's called text neck. Considerable amount of hours, if you keep your neck like this, it is as if you are carrying a 27-kilogram weight on your neck. If you think 27 kilogram is very light, this is the exact weight of your baggage which you put in the plane, which is at least 30 kilos. This is 27 kilos. If you think this is light, go home and try to carry a 20 kilogram or a 15 kilogram dumbbell and see whether it is light or not. Okay. This is how people's personalities are going to be changing in the future, and we are going ahead with it. Our writing skills have gone into the old Egyptian system of using pictures and emotions. We are now conversing not with the person next to us, but people who are very far away, and that's going to be a common thing. We are in a generation where the father used to walk for 20 minutes to save 20 rupees, but the son spends 20 rupees to save 20 minutes. And you should be curious how the future generation is coming along, as a toddler can change the settings on an iPad but still can't figure out a fork. This is how the challenges are going to be for teachers as well. Okay. And we are going to have worse news, because whenever we play a game, we never took gaming seriously in our era. Whenever we see a cartoon, we like to watch that cartoon. Today you show the cartoon and you have to tell, dear kids, don't try this at home, because today's kids are trying it at home. The Blue Whale Challenge and the what's this challenge called? The Momo Challenge went into making kids suiciding themselves. These two games were banned in Europe and in many countries, but it was quite too late, where in countries like India and in Europe, there were people who fell for these type of games. Teachers should know what is going around when it comes into their students. Now, when things have got updated from this vehicle to this vehicle, and from this mobile phone range to the future mobile phone ranges, what you can actually see here, and when classrooms from here is supposed to actually lead into touch tables and better understanding, are you using pedagogical sciences in the right way? The future classrooms all will be equipped with this, which makes easy for teachers. It's only going to be difficult if you don't believe in technology. So by whether we like it or not, in my entire lesson, we argue on the pros and the cons to get a balanced view on this. We have to see how things are, or we have to create alternatives in the right way. This is something used in our medical college. It's called the anatomage, where it has a large touchscreen table, which teaches the human anatomy in a very easy way. This is basically augmented reality in a smart lens. I don't know how many of you all have got used to smart lenses. I use it when I go abroad to translate my speech, translate a board, and many things. So Google has developed, guys, smart lenses like this. You can use it in your phone itself. This is how the future X-rays are. And I myself have experienced these with our medical school, that these devices are not science fiction, but they're there. And these will be in schools soon. How unique are you? Does anyone know this word? Biometrics. Teachers, what do you know about biometrics? What do you know about biometrics? What is biometrics? Teachers, can we chat? Guys, you're making it really boring actually for me, to be honest. Can you talk to me? Can you chat with me? Can you use the mic? Can you respond? Is it yes, no? Aisha, Zakilda, what do you think biometrics are? Mahadia, calculations regarding the body. Okay. Ruksha, Ruvi, what do you think biometrics are? Subani, Himaya, Tania, others. Bushra, what do you think biometrics are?
Excuse me. I
Yes, go
think
ahead.
the body measurements and calculation related to the human characteristics like that.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It is something. There is many parts of biometrics. Let's say I only talk about the thumb. Okay, in 1980s, it was understood that everyone has a unique thumbprint. In 1980s, it was understood that everyone had a unique thumbprint system. In the world, if there is 7.7 billion people now, there is no one who has the same thumbprint. In 7.7 billion identical twins, they also don't have the same, what you call this, they also don't have the same thumbprint, even identically within them. Now, the miracle in the thumbprint is that even 1,000 years ago, it's assumed that there was no one, who had the same thumbprint. Okay, so we are going to see that if our thumbprint is unique, that means every student is unique. So then how is it that I teach the same thing in the same way to all the students, not knowing their background? Okay, in this lesson, we focus a lot on personalized learning. Personalized learning is to group people according to each of their characteristics and do it. And this is what I help people to do in my classes, to develop a career in their school, to become a popular teacher, where they can actually apply these sciences. And these are some of the scientific models we basically tell them how to do. Okay. In the future, students will be using techniques like chatbots, where they will be chatting with robots and learning. And there will be a time where the student will supersede the teacher. These are some of the 7 top chatbots out here. Hello Hipmunk, Luca, Mona, Penny, Poncho, Dr. AI, and Amy. Can you please give another explanation about biometrics? Okay. These are 3-4 things I will tell you about biometrics. Our thumbprint is unique. Our tongue print is unique. Diva, tongue print is unique. Our iris is unique. These are biometrics of different things in our body. For teaching, we can understand that if we start monitoring and recording information based on the student's thumbprint, taking his attendance, looking at his body mass, grouping him to sit according to that background and everything, giving him special needs if he needs anything. If someone is having a speech problem, making sure that he has to be given extra attention than someone who is totally 100% okay in his speech, etc. So these are 3 things to 4 things which is unique: the eye, in the iris, the thumbprint, and the tongue, and few lightly researched things in the body are kind of going to be unique amongst people. So this is for an example, Dr. AI. Dr. AI is it's an artificial intelligence chatbot for people to learn. So I can actually chat with someone and learn. You're welcome, Aisha. You can actually chat with someone and learn. I teach a lot about chatbots. Join my classes if you want to know and experience like what is done. And in my slides, I have included more types of chatbots as well. This is available in Sri Lanka. It's a very simple thing. Okay, is that teachers should know this. When you want to go with learners, always ask these questions. Are they visual, auditory, kinesthetic, or reading type of learners? So I think I covered this, right? In the future, there are a couple of challenges which teachers will face. One is classroom size is quite challenging when the classroom size keeps increasing. We have to figure out answers in our notes on this. One is poverty, where people don't have possibility of education. family problems, family factors, technology, where there is no access to technology. Forget virtual reality. Today, schools don't have internet or computers or no online learning happening is a problem. Bullying, student attitudes, and parent involvement are issues. I find solution in my classes for these problems. Okay. An ideal classroom is like what? Where people are confident, open, and they can actually talk to people. Like for an example, something like this. My type of classroom is where I have, these bean bags where people can sit on the ground and learn. That is my type of learning. Okay, that is basically my type of learning of what basically happens. I actually teach students technology based on Kahoot. Is there any teacher who knows about Kahoot here? Please raise your hands or talk to me if you have used Kahoot. If you have used Kahoot, please let me know. No one has used Kahoot? Mahadia, very good. For those who don't know Kahoot, it's something like this. Okay, here you go. Please go and log in here. This is Kahoot. Kahoot is where you can make learning very interesting. Kahoot is one, there are many, okay? I like Kahoot because it's easy, but you can actually use other stuff. Now, you have to go and create your login, and it will ask for your Gmail, Gmail address. Let me see how my internet is. And there you go. So I continue with Google in this way. All my accounts are being shown, and I go on this. And when I enter, I actually can use the Kahoot platform for any type of education. If it's early childhood, I can use it for early childhood. If it's psychology, I use it for psychology. If it's mathematics, I use it for mathematics. If it's sciences, I use it for sciences, anything. If you pay money, you can get some super stuff, but at the moment you can go to basic. Maximum number of players are 10. I used to do this with a lot of players, but kind of now it's minimized. Now this is your platform. Go to Discover and type, let's talk non-educational. You want to talk about currencies. Enter. Okay, meaning countries and their currencies. You will get the results. So can you see this currency thing? So it will tell you like how many questions are there. This has 13 questions. This has 10 questions. Go to currencies. So in currencies, they have prepared the question. When they've prepared the question, see what is Britain's currency? The answer is here. So that is now you're preparing now. What you go is you go and click play here, and you can tell whether you're a host or not. But you can go on. Let's say you're the host. Click that. It will give you a code number, and you can say that you are going with classic. Wait a little for some time, and you will be getting a code. That's your code. Put music. This code has to be entered in all the 10 people's phone, and all the 10 people will see how they can actually play this game. Very competitive, very addictive, very interesting in my class. I always use this when I'm like free most of the time. So that is basically how Kahoot basically works. So I'm almost done with this, guys. That's Kahoot. Now it's open for Q&A. I will show you, I said, how I do my classes, so that, for an example, you get an idea of how these classes basically happen. I also have, like there are other apps like, okay, Mahadia, awesome. There are other games which are free or easier than Kahoot. Get used to one of these apps. Can you see? Poll Everywhere, HP Reveal, book widgets. There's so many like this. So you can just go and get a list and see. Right. Before I close off in the next 5 minutes, we have Dr. Burhan in. And before I close off, this is my Instagram page. If you want to connect with me, I'm not done. I'm going to take 5 more minutes. This is my Facebook page. If you want to get connected with me and share your thoughts, keep in touch, connect and engage with me, you can do it. This is my Instagram page. If you want to follow me on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, I have TikTok contents on all these, what I'm speaking about. You can basically get an idea of how I do things. Now, in my whole career, my final part is to show you how I do this particular class. Our undergraduate classes are quite small, but I have a postgraduate classes, which is quite big. So I'm going to show my WhatsApp messages at the moment. This is my WhatsApp, and I'm going to this particular two chats which I have. It's called CEC. I am currently Sri Lanka's largest lecturer, or the lecturer who has the largest student population for a postgraduate program called CIM. I don't know how many of you all know it. It is CIM. My classroom is about 300 postgraduate students. That's the world's largest, and this is a British qualification. England's largest class has only about 60 or 70 students. Okay, England's largest parallel class of mine has 60 or 70 students. My class has 300 students, and that's why basically I become the world's largest class holder for this particular course. All these people are people who have undergraduate qualifications and master's qualification, who are company CEOs, managers, entrepreneurs. Could you send your email address? Yes, Mahathir, I'll send it at last. Uh, I need to be I need to be 10 times ahead of my students when I actually try to deal with a mature student group like this. And there are 300 who are 300 different people, unique thumbprints, right? All who are entrepreneurs, senior managers. Example, the branch manager of HSBC can be my student. The person who creates the Unilever product for Signal or Lifebuoy can be my student. Okay. The person who launches the Mobitel app can be my student. So I have all CEOs and entrepreneurs actually in this class. Now I have to arrange my class in a way that when I do my lectures, I actually categorize my video lectures in an index like this, so that people can go and check this index. What did I teach in class 1? I have a description. Why? Because lectures are boring for some people. You think lectures are interesting? You students should go and tell your mother and father to give you a lecture for 15 minutes, and you can see whether you can patiently listen or not. So boring, right? It depends whether you are a lecture material or not. It depends if your lecturer is a good storyteller or not. Having an audience is very, very tough. Do you like your father or grandfather to give you a lecture for 15 minutes? No, right? You are going to school and teaching students for 8 hours. How do you think the student is listening to you and waiting? How do you think that's happening? It's a tough call, right? Okay, I hope you understand the message. So I do is, for people who don't want to go through that task, I give my video recordings and I give them an index like this. Okay, you can see all my whole index is given, because as the world's largest class, I need to actually be one step ahead of others. I have something called Inthikab's 12 Shades of Grey. That is to finish my assignment. I give them checklist for people who want to learn this for the sake of it, who don't want the knowledge, but who want to actually, like a parrot, do the assignment and submit the assignment. That's it. For them, I have something else. I do it like this. That's all I need. I need you to do this in page 1. I need you to do this in page 2. I need you to do this up to page 10, and you're done. I just spoon feed for the latecomers who don't have time to actually learn through this. Then what I do is I basically do some videos. I share screenshots on important stuff, add a little bit humor, motivate people with words. This is my most famous slogan on motivating people. I call it to burn it down, meaning burn your assignment, burn your work, just destroy it, kill it, rape it, just finish it off. So I use this hashtag, and they send it back to me, I send it back to them, and it's kind of like a trending thing in my lectures when this basically happens. So in my WhatsApp group, I give them some PDFs, I show them some pictures. I have a KPI I'm going to just show you the KPI. These are PDFs. I'm going to show you like, okay, I think it's easy if I go and show you a KPI, let's say like this. The KPI is a workout plan. I give them tasks, what they should do by when. Don't come near me crying, saying that, I couldn't finish it on time. Example, this work is supposed to be done in July, August. This work is supposed to be done in the 3rd week of September. This is my KPI. This is for me to monitor me, for my students to monitor me, and also I will be monitoring my students as well, and for them to monitor themselves. So it's typical easy. And you can see the hashtag repeating here as well. This hashtag is there in every conversation I do. When I give that hashtag, people actually get a boost up. They actually get a boost up. People who are fans of wrestling will know that this is a boosting hashtag given by a wrestler called Seth Rollins, which I'm basically using in my class. So finally, to finish off, this is again my my stuff. You can post your questions and I will answer you. This is basically me. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram. What is not in my class is, I don't believe that what I'm saying is right. I don't believe. I'm repeating. I'm done with my whole session. I don't believe what my this thing is right. I always tell students to come out with their own stuff. I only tell that I did it like this, but I don't want you to do it in the same way. There was once a student in my class who asked a question saying that, "Sir, do you think it's good to get technology on board for these students or not?" I said, that is your call. You're the teacher. I am only showing the pathway. If you have a better way to do it, you can do a better way to do it. And then the teacher also said, like a student commented here, that teacher student is in Dubai. They said in Dubai, we kind of do it like this. I said, that's the maturity of early childhood education. It's not to go through a traditional lecture that you guys are listening to what I say and obeying what I say and agreeing with me. No, 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 no. It's not about that. I want you to disobey me in class. I want you to disagree in class with me. I want you to come out with your own interactions, because my approach is different. All your teachers' approach is different. We are just going to reconcile and see how we do things. I hope you understand how the whole system works. So if you want to join our program, you can go ahead and you can basically correspond with the counselors. They will help you out. With this, guys, I thank you very much for joining hands with me in this session. I'm going to type my email address for those who basically ask for my email address. It goes as, where's the chat box? Okay, here you go. It's Inthikab at imcedu.com. Thank you very much. Post me any questions if you have anything. You're welcome, Himaya. Guys, thank you very much. We will possibly meet up on another date. I will introduce you Dr. Burhan at the moment. So Dr. Burhan, can we have you on board? And I'm going to make you a host as well. Dr. Burhan is currently a doctor at the Galgamoa Hospital, and he's come in on board in his busy schedule. In his busy schedule to actually, when is your next session? Mahadia, my next session is not programmed yet, but I will let you know. You can get information from us on our next sessions. Follow me on Instagram and things like that. Send me your numbers. I will add you in my WhatsApp groups, broadcasting groups. If you want to be added, let me know so that you will get updates on my free courses, my free classes as well. So Dr. Burhan is a graduate from the prestigious Viteb State Medical University. He was an outstanding student at Lyceum International School. He was an outstanding student in the university, and currently he is working at the Galgamoa Teaching Hospital. Dr. Burhan has quite a lot of experience working with teachers, students, people in the medical area, and he is also going to be one of your lecturers. Now, what is more interesting is that, like I have my social networks, Dr. Burhan has his. If you would like to actually get into medical content, he is kind of, in my definition, the Dr. Mike of Sri Lanka. If you know about Dr. Mike, that is. Follow him on Instagram with an Instagram page called Surgical Diaries. It's called Surgical Diaries. Follow this page, Surgical Diaries, and you can engage with Dr. Burhan, speak to him. He will also be helpful to talk to you. So, Dr. Burhan, over to you. There you go.
Thank you, Inti. Thank you very much, Inti. Uh, I'll just start sharing my screen. So first of all, just want to thank everyone for actually, coming for this session, which has been moderated by Inti. And I think what I'll be speaking to you all about will be on the aspect of early childhood education and the psychological aspect of education psychology, how it actually comes into play. Now this is very very. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. So now, very important. I've done a few sessions with the current students who are in the program, and we've actually learned a lot about how it is quite essential that the early part of a child and the way that you educate that child is, I would say, directly proportional to how successful that person will become in the future. I will reiterate that it is directly proportional to the type of person he will become in the future. So that's how essential early childhood education is and early childhood care actually, right? So let's look into today. I'm going to be speaking about the whole aspect of educational psychology and its importance as to why it is important, the aspect of what could go wrong if there has been some sort of delay in figuring out whether there is a child who is having a learning disability, if there is a delay in recognizing that there is some behavioral problem with this child, and because of this behavioral problem this child has thought that he's bad, and because of that kind of personality this child in the future becomes a gang member, becomes violent, gets married, is prone to domestic violence. Do you see? It is a cascade. It is a flow. So that is how essential it is that when you educate a child, when you actually bring up a child, especially as I'm sure all of you all who are interested in this program, most of the people who are interested are teachers who are going to be dealing with children, and therefore it is absolutely essential that you understand that if by any chance, because of your doing, if there is negligence and if you do not teach the child to come up in the right pathway, it could lead destruction of that particular child, not just for that day, but it will completely divert his career path. It will completely divert his future path. So that is how essential and important this topic is today, right? Because this is why I stress on during my class, we stress on about punishment versus discipline, the difference between punishment and discipline, right? So these are things that we will talk about if you all do join our program, especially when we speak about the behavior in guiding young children, right? Now, let's look at one important thing called education. What is education? Education, a lot of people, whenever someone, if you ask someone what education is like, people would say, I'm just getting educated for what? Why are you getting yourself educated? So I can actually get myself a job. Okay, so why do you need a job? No, if I get a good job, I can actually earn money. Okay, why do you need money? No, if I'm successful in financial wise, then I will have a chance of getting married to someone good, and because of that I can actually have my family. And then do you see, it's just a cascade of events where you're just doing it for other people. Education in the other sense is something that you need to be content with the knowledge that you are gaining, and you need to apply it to all the things that you do on a day-to-day aspect. So now let's look at a few definitions of educational psychology. What did Skinner say? Skinner said that it is a branch of psychology which deals with teaching and learning. You teach and you learn, right? Crow and Crow, in his context of books, he said that he explains the learning experience of an individual from birth through an old age, right? So he talks more of learning by experience, right? Of how a child, when the child is born, the child watches the mother, watches her sort of traits, and tries to replicate those same traits because that is what the child thinks is right. And then when the child comes into school, the child will actually see things that the teacher does, or are the students doing? The child has been taught to drinking water using just the bottle. But when the child sees other people using a glass, the child also wants to do it. So this is learning through experience, and we all do that, right? Peel said that it helps the teacher. This is very good. This helps the teacher to understand the development of his pupils, the range and limit of their capacities, the processes by which they learn, and their social relationships. Right. So this is a very important aspect that we speak about when we are talking about early childhood education, where the first thing that you do when you are in a class where you are assigned a few students, you get to know each and individual student. You create a sort of a relationship with that student. The moment you create a relationship with each and every student, you will understand the development of that child. You will understand the range and limits of their capacities. You will understand the type of social relationship that they have. You will understand whether this child is is he a type of person who can misbehave. You will figure out who are the people who are high at risk. All of that. Give me a minute. Give me a 1 minute. Right. So as I was saying, right, whenever I have been whenever someone has spoken about education, or okay, you have to study, it has always come with this term exams. Whenever you learn about something like I'll have to do this exam now, there's definitely going to be this assignment now. So what does that deal us, like, in a sense, what does that show us? It's always associated with stress, right? It's always associated with a fear that you will have to do this exam, right, eventually. So because of that, it makes us forget the purpose, the reason as to why we are actually getting ourselves educated. In that same manner, right, children are actually, initially children don't have that philosophy, but because of parents, because of the peer pressure, because of the community, they start actually focusing on the exams a lot. I hope you all can see my screen. Can you all see my screen? Inti?
Yes, we can see.
Okay, right. Okay, great. Right. So because of that reason,
Yeah,
right?
so far okay. So far okay.
Yeah, children lose focus. They lose focus as to why they're actually getting themselves educated. Rather than that, they start getting themselves educated because someone else, either at home or in the community, wants them to get educated. It's because so that other people don't judge them. That's not how we have to teach children. Now, I have got an example of how children think in the initial period. This is why when you deal with children, you need to be open-minded. You cannot be narrow-minded. You because the most important thing with children is they are very curious. They are, now this is an example where you can see that this child is, his answers are not wrong entirely, right? But they're not correct as well. Now it is amazing that this teacher has done something like this. If you can see, the question is, in which battle did Napoleon die? His last one, absolutely correct. But the question asks for the name of the battle, right? There was a Declaration of Independence signed, so they were asking the location of the place, but this guy has said on the bottom of the page, right, which is again correct. River Ravi flows in which state? Obviously, it's a river. It's obviously going to flow in liquid state, but they wanted to know the state in which it is actually originated, right? What is the main reason for divorce? Obviously, marriage, right? What is the main reason for exams? Failure. So these, what can you never eat for breakfast? Obviously, what you eat for lunch and dinner, right? What looks like half an apple, the other half, right? So you can see that the answers are not completely correct, but they're very creative, and this creative mindset is there in each and every individual, each and every child. Why do they lose their creativity? Because we hinder them expressing themselves, because whenever they express themselves, we scold them, we punish them, and because of that, it becomes a norm for them to think, eka varadi. I mean, that is wrong. I don't think I should do that. And that kind of completely puts down the child in the way that, he doesn't feel confident, and therefore he tries to do what has been asked him, whatever that has been asked for to be done. So which is very, very wrong, right? Maybe that child will become a doctor, maybe that child will become an engineer, but you don't know the type of person he would have become if you had let his creativity be there, right? This is very, very essential. Now again, another question where they're asking to find x, and the guy's like, okay, here is x, right? This is just the creativity. I'm sure this does not apply to a complete context, but it is how it is. Right? So there comes a phase called what is active learning, right? Guys, I'm really, really sorry. I'm actually on call today, so I might actually get disrupted a few times. I hope you all understand, right? So let's move on. There is this context called active learning. What is active learning? It is teaching methods and strategies that involve student participation and engagement. Now, this is very, very important. I don't know in which era that you all were in school, but in my era, I still remember the teacher would come and would actually, tell us, okay, I'm going to dictate. You all have to write. It was the era of that. We never asked questions. Some of the teachers allowed us to ask questions, but we were just supposed to do whatever the teacher was telling. It was not about a sort of a discussion we have about something. It was very less of that. But nowadays it shows now the type of presentations that we do, the type of discussions that we do. We always want an active participation, and especially in my program, I mean, especially in the module of behavior in guiding young children, human learning, which are modules that we will do, right? I need an active participation because of the way that you correspond back. That's how we communicate, that's how we understand each other. Like Inti said in his final statements, I can have my opinion, but that doesn't mean that you have to agree with my opinion, right? It, at the end of the day, it comes to understanding their opinions and valuing those opinions. Now yesterday, if I take the example, we had a major sort of a discussion with regard to how we have been punished, right? Now all of us have either been hit at with a cane, or being hit with a slipper, ears being pulled, right? And we were discussing if it is right. Is it pushing us from losing our creativity? And a lot of people said that it is how it is, and that doesn't mean that we hate, because harsh punishments will cause children to hate the person who's giving the punishments, right? So then comes the question whether do we hate our parents for doing things like that. So we had a very interesting discussion, and these are the things that we will be doing in the class, right? So what is the benefit of active learning, right? Two things. Active learning will help promote higher order of thinking, right? That is basically you don't think superficially, but you engage students in deep rather than surface learning. These are the two important aspects that need to be focused on because of active learning. And the benefits are something that the children, as in the child, will reap in the future. Because the way you start the process, the early phase of how that child starts thinking, is how he will continue to do so as soon as like in a sense with time, like the moment he goes into grade 2, he will start developing that aspect in promoting higher order thinking. That is why some students don't, like in a sense, when something has been said, they're just like, okay, that's it. Whereas there are students who will start thinking about that, and they start thinking about other things that are related to this. That is what you call higher order of thinking, right? So I'm just going to give you a few examples which I see in Sri Lanka where it limits children from doing so. Now let's look at the local A-level system, right? What happens, right? First of all, there is no syllabus. There is no set of, you all have past papers, but you all don't know if the same past papers are actually going to come back. I mean, it is going to be the same orientation of questions. Sometimes that's not the case, right? So what happens? Students have to basically have so much of information that they need to put in. If they don't understand, what do? They just by heart, right? When they by heart it, they go for an exam. Then when they see a question, all they think of is where did I read about this question? And then just, copy paste from there. Whatever they remember the page, they just copy paste that. What happens? We actually eventually confine their thinking to very limited area. Whereas when you ask me a question, I'll think about all the different scenarios and I'll answer. But when you put a student who has no idea and he's only read this one particular big chunk of notes, all that student will do is will try to go back to that particular set of notes that he has read and he's going to give an answer. He's not going to be thinking out of the box, right? So this is what it does. A system like this will reduce the chance of children developing out of the box thinking, will reduce the chance of students actually having deep learning rather than surface learning, and this will reduce the chance of actually them being able to learn with a higher order of thinking, right? So this is why it is very, very important whenever a student is learning, let that student learn around whatever that student is learning. Let the student ask questions with regard to that. Let the student be curious about what the student is learning. Be able to implement it to the practical world, to the real world. When you hinder all of that, it's just going to make robots. It's not going to do anything else, right? That being said, some students are book smart and street smart, right? So again, it is the teacher's duty to figure out if a student is book smart or street smart, because the way that you'll be teaching a book smart student is different to how you will be teaching a street smart student. So what are the differences between a book smart student and a street smart student? A book smart student is very analytical, whereas a street smart student is very practical. A book smart per student will be traditionally school type learning, whereby information disseminated through oral and written methods. Whereas a street smart student, all about experience, learning through trial and error, right? Book smart person will be very organized and prepared. Street smart person will be always impromptu, impulsive, right? Book smart will always have a backup plan. Street smart are able to think on their feet, right? Like, on the spot. They like to be on the spot, right? So street smart student will take risks, whereas a book smart student will think about all the options and then only decide what is the safest option. So these are this a few characteristics between a person who is book smart and street smart, and that is quite essential, especially when it's a teacher who's guiding that student to understand how he or she will guide that relevant student, depending on the type of student he or she is, right? So again, the out of the box thinking is very, very important. Outside the box thinking will kind of increase the likelihood of the child being very creative, have ideas, all of that. Now, another thing that we discussed during our classes is that, children like this, right? Outside the box thinking is something that is associated with imagination. If you have children at home, right, and when you see a child is actually playing with an imaginary friend, don't stop it, don't hinder it, let that child play with that imaginary friend, only because there is no one at home. Because the fact that the child can think of an imaginary friend and start playing with it, doing things, is a sort of way where the child is completely vastly diversing her or his imagination, and that will help the child in the future. And they have said that there is a research that has said that if a child has had an imaginary friend, the likelihood that that child might become an author, that child might become a scientist, the child will become something associated with research is highly possible, right? So it actually, these things actually help children, and you should not hinder it, because that is what some of them are doing. And out of the box thinking is quite essential, because sometimes when we do not have answers to our problems, right, we think we do not have a choice, that's it, these are the only two options, or these are the only three options, we have to decide based on that. But sometimes when you have a curious mind, when you have this out of the box thinking, when you can promote that, even at an instant where you think that I've lost, still there is a way out. And that example is in this white pebble, black pebble story. I don't know if you all have heard this. It is about a girl whose father had taken money from some wealthy man, right? But that wealthy man was wicked, right? And he was very wicked. He was cruel. He was very cunning. All he wanted was to get married to this girl, That is the one who the father's daughter, the father's daughter. So all he actually proposed to the father, saying that you have taken so much of money, and the only way that I will forgive you is either you give me the money, or you can give me your daughter instead, right? And I will completely, forgive the loan, and I'll marry your daughter. Or if you don't agree with both terms, you will have to be put in jail, right? So now the father was not willing. The daughter was also a little shocked, but the daughter did not want the father to be in the jail. Obviously, they did not have the money, right? They had no ways of giving him the money because it was a huge sum. So all that the daughter could do, so that the daughter could save the father, was get married. Now that is not what the father wanted, nor did the daughter want, but the daughter wanted to help the father, right? So eventually, because of the fact that they were reluctant, the wealthy man, he was walking in a pathway. He had come to meet them. He was walking in a pathway where there were white pebbles and black pebbles, and he said, "Okay, let's do this. I have this small bag. I will put one white pebble and I will put one black pebble into this bag, right? And then whatever pebble you pick, right? Whatever pebble you pick will decide what fate that you want to go ahead with. If you by any chance pick a black pebble, right? If you by any chance pick a black pebble, you will have to get married to me. But if you pick a white pebble, right? You don't have to get married, and I will forgive your father's sins as well. I mean, father's not sins, father's loan as well. So now this was something where the girl was like, okay, at least this way, even I can win and even my father can win, right? So she thought about it and she said, okay, let's go ahead. But as the wealthy man was wicked and cruel and cunning, what he did in the bag, rather than putting one white pebble and one black pebble, the cruel man put two black pebbles. But the girl saw it, right? Now the girl could have said, "You have put two black pebbles. That's wrong." But what will that wealthy man say? Why you lying? I have not done something. Forget about it. I am not going to marry you. Now am I going to forgive your father? Let your father go in jail, right? So that would have been that would have been something. Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, go ahead. I think someone's mic was on by mistake.
Okay, okay. Right. So basically, that could have been an instance where the miser, or the wicked wealthy man would have said that no, how can you say this? I'm actually helping you, and you're saying like this. Forget it. I'm just gonna let this be. Let your father go in jail. So now that is not what the girl wanted, and this way the girl knew if she picked the black pebble, she will have to get married to that man. Now, at this time, right, we think in this moment, we think everything's lost. There's nothing that the girl can do. All her options are out. But during this time, also, because of her out of the box thinking, she figured a way out. And the way out was she picked a pebble and she dropped it without anyone else seeing it. And she was like, "Oh, I dropped my pebble. What was it? Was it white or black?" And then she comes and says, let's look at what's inside. If it's a black pebble that is inside the bag, that means I might have picked the I might have picked the white pebble. Obviously, she knew there were two black pebbles and she has dropped the black pebble. But the miser doesn't know that she already knows that, right? So what eventually became was she actually turned the whole situation which was against her in favor of her. And therefore, she actually got rid of all her problems. So this is why out of the box thinking is quite essential, because it comes to use. It comes to use in a lot of professions, because when there are times when you can't find a solution based on guidelines, you need to think out of the box. Even in my workspace, there are so many times I have to do it. I have to go against the norms. I have to think about it in a different way for me to figure out a solution, right? And that is very, very useful for a child as soon as he grows up to be someone in the future, right? So again, when we talk about exams, and we talk about the calculator, right? Now in Sri Lanka, we have so many set of exams where we expect students to do the function of a calculator. Now this is something that has been really, really annoying me, is because of the fact that why would you want a student to actually do the functions of the calculator when the calculator exists. Just because you can do the same calculations the calculator does, will that be an opportunity for that student to actually go up in to actually find a job doing the functions of a calculator? No. The company that is going to hire a person will obviously hire someone who can use the calculator rather than someone who will do the function of a calculator, right? So we need to understand the way that we teach. We need to teach them so that they can use the resources that are already there and they can make their lives better rather than being the resource itself. Now, this is a sort of pattern that I have seen, and I feel that it is wrong. Yes, learning how to do the calculations of a calculator is going to make you more arithmetical, it's going to make you more mathematical, but that's not going to serve the purpose in the future, because in the future, what is the purpose? You are looking for a job, and you being able to do the job of a calculator is, there is no point, because they can hire someone who doesn't have any degree, who doesn't have all this thing, but you can use a calculator. That is my point. So this is that the reason, the impact of how we actually go ahead and do this is wrong, right? Then we have this multiplication chart. I think some people used to call it the chakra table, right? We expect students to buy hard this. Why are we making them buy hard multiplication tables? Make them understand why 4 times 5 is 20. When you get fours of 5, then you get 20. Rather than, them just knowing at the tip of the tongue, because they're by heart at them. 9 times 9 is 81. 9 times 8 is 72. 9 times 8 is 72. Yeah. Yeah. So, so basically, all of that. Why are we making them actually, by heart all of those things? Make them understand it. So when teachers do this at an early stage, eventually when they grow up, they decide some things that they don't understand, they eventually by heart, which is wrong. Now there are theories where sometimes dates, right, dates of famous presidents, the name of famous presidents, they actually say that don't by heart them, but remember them through mnemonics, right? Remember them making different patterns. So that way you will always have a sort of pattern, and that therefore you will remember everything, right? So these are things that are being implemented so that you will keep that child from not losing his creativity, not losing the possibility of expressing him or herself. Then we have the other thing that teachers have to focus on is the community induced stress and pressure. Right? I still remember when I was doing my O levels and A levels, I was more scared what I wasn't scared what my parents would say, but I was more worried about what my community would say if I did not succeed. They'll be like, he didn't get this much of results. This particular person whose son is also there, he has got these results. And it was very stressful. I'm sure all of you have had at least some way you can actually agree with me that we've always been scared what the world would think, right? How much even you've been you focused on rather than your parents, you've been worried, okay, if I don't do this, these people will think like this. Judgment, you are worried about the other judgment that will come from your distant cousins, from your distant friends, and because of that it puts a lot of stress, and because of that stress you sometimes, even though you're good, because of the stress you might not do well during your exams, right? So we need to teach children that they are doing this for themselves. They don't have to worry about others, because the moment you create that safe place for them, they will mold into becoming the best versions of themselves, and they will also achieve greater targets when they don't have this unwanted stress, right? Then we can talk about the competition that has arisen because of us putting so much pressure on these children, teachers, parents, community. What happens? They don't care about how they get there. All they care is they want to become the first person, the person who is ranked first. I still remember in classes and all, like I had friends and all whose parents would not see the average mark. They would see whether the student is in the rank of first to third. It doesn't matter if their average was 65. All they cared about was that he is either first, second, or third. No point. What happens? Students then start doing unwanted things. I still remember when I was in medical school, I used to write notes on my histology, histology histology subject. And I remember I had a set of notes, like books and books of different topics in histology, and they were very short and simple and absolutely enough for you to go for the exam. Can you believe it? 1 week back, 1 week before, and everyone in my course knew about my notes and they were using it, they were photocopying, they were using it. 1 week before my exam, right? Someone stole my note, right? And I was using my own photocopy for my exam. Oh. Yeah, I'm sorry, I just got a poisoning patient. So let's go on, right? So you get what I'm trying to say. It's about unhealthy competition, right? To such an extent, like Western countries, like when you look at medical schools, they're the most competitive, and because of this competitiveness, it creates unhealthy competition. Now, if you look at USML, that is the United States Medical Licensing Exam, they don't have marks. They just have pass or fail, pass or fail. So what does this do? Students don't care if they don't care if this person, because they want everyone to pass, but there is no particular mark, so they're not competing in that way because they have realized it's very stressful and it creates a lot of unhealthy competition, right? So if amazing schools like the Harvard Medical School can do this, obviously these are things that we should implement in the early childhood area, so that we teach them what healthy competition is. I'm not saying competition is bad, I'm saying unhealthy competition is bad. Healthy competition is quite necessary because it kind of makes us come out of our box, and it makes us work even more, right? So that's something that we need to focus on. And then we need to talk about these things which are not spoken in schools at all, about social awareness, about communication and relationship skills, the way you speak to people, the way you make decisions, the self-awareness, the self-regulation. All of these are key things which are embedded in the social and emotional learning. We need to teach them how to be social. We need to teach them of how they need to be expressive, how they need to let their emotions run. In when you look at schools, we don't teach about all these things because these are very, very important, right? When you talk about educational diversity, now in Sri Lanka, now I think it's a little better, but before, if the way that people, parents, other people decide that I will become this one, I will become a doctor, I will become an engineer, is based on the subject that I've chosen. If I'm doing biophysics, chemistry, you will become a doctor. If you have done physics, maths, and this thing, you can become an engineer. So there's no diversity. Why are we not allowing students to pick fields which are which are there, but you don't want them to? There are so many diverse fields in this, in the market at the moment. There is like, let's just say biophysics, chemistry. They can become marine biologists, they can become researchers, they can become consultants, they can become they can become whatever they want with regard to that field. Something to do with chemistry, helping in the pharmaceutical industry. There's so much, but we don't focus on all of those things. We need to teach them about the different diversities that are there. We need to have a day where we need to bring everyone, like a fireman, like someone else, some like a doctor, engineer, like a researcher, all of them, and tell them about what they do, so that children will have that interest. Okay, I want to become like this. You get to do this. This is something that I'm interested in. These are things that need to be focused on in our educational aspect. And then you have personalized education. This is what I was talking to you about, knowing your student and knowing how you can personalize that education so that that student can reap the maximum out of it. That is what you call personalized education. And always remember, right? I know this is very difficult sometimes, but always remember to always make students ask questions, because the more the questions they ask, the more that they will have a curious mind, the more the chance that they will actually want to have this out of the box thinking. right? Because I remember in medical school, I used to always ask whenever there was a doubt, whenever there was something that was, annoying me with regard to what I've not understood, I would ask. I became so persistent that when I would clear everything during the class so that I didn't have to go back and, think about this or that. So it was very easy. And some students actually found it very irritating. And you won't believe me, just before the exams, that the same students would come and ask the same question that I had asked during the class, because that was confusing at that time. Whereas I had already cleared my doubt. And because of the fact that I had cleared it, I was thinking about other things at that point. Right? So make it a principle that always promote letting the students ask questions. Let them feel comfortable in asking those questions. Let them feel non-judgmental when they're asking questions. Tell them that it's a safe space. Tell them no one is going to judge you if you have not understood. No one is going to laugh at you because your question is stupid. You tell all of that and you make them ask questions. I hope you enjoyed this particular session. It was very small. It was on just a few things that I felt is very, very important, especially when you're upbringing a child. These are quite essential, because when you have understood it, right, you will understand how much of a significance it actually adds to that student's life, and how much of significance it will affect that student's life in such a way that that student will become somebody in the future, right? So that's how important it is. Thank you very much. I'm sorry for all the interruptions that I had to go through. If there are any questions, I am free to take any. Inti, over to you.
So guys, that was Dr. Burhan. That basically concludes this particular session. I would recommend you to get in touch with all your counselors if you are looking at a detailed study on whatever myself and Dr. Burhan did. Dr. Burhan, thank you very much for coming all the way from Galgamwa.
No problem.
And you
No
saw the
problem.
number of calls he used to get and things like that because of this on-call thing. Apart from that, I will upload this session on YouTube, and you should get the link in the next probably 1 hour. And that's it from ourselves. If you are looking at a career course, an academic degree, a course on this, where you want to know more about this and you want to master this, get in touch with AIC campus with all the counselors for a qualification in early childhood education, and you will be basically getting in touch with myself and Dr. Burhan for further stuff. So keep in touch, guys, with me if you want to know more about it. We will have more sessions in the future, and I will let you know how it goes. Thank you very much, guys. Wish you all the best. Be safe and be responsible. Maintain social distancing. In the next couple of days, when Western Province is being opened up with some areas which the curfew will be lifted. Okay, guys. Thank you. God bless you. Keep in touch.